Well, the Miami Heat season is over as they just get absolutely demolished by the Celtics in Game 5, 118-84, and this series was never really close. The Heat somehow were able to win Game 2 in Boston to even the series at 1 back then, but the other 4 games in the series were never close. The Celtics beat you by 20, 20, 14, and now quick math of 34, so it was an uncompetitive series, which was to be anticipated with no Jimmy Butler, no Terry Rozier. I had hope that the Heat could pull off the upsets, but as time went on in this series, the talent gap was just way too big to overcome, and Miami just was never able to find their footing offensively. The only game they did win, they set a franchise record for three-pointers made in a game, and it really was going to require that every game in order for you to win. You look at these stats in Game 5, and oh, goodness gracious. You see the three-point shooting number at the bottom left of your screen, 3 of 29. That is as bad as it could possibly get. I don't think you'll ever find a worse three-point shooting performance from the Miami Heat in the postseason. It's only fitting it happens in the final game of the season as the Heat are heading to Cancun. It's just, I don't even want to talk about these stats. So I don't even want to talk about the game that much, to be honest. The season is clearly over. There's no reason to talk about the game. Who cares about breaking it down? It's a first-round series exit for Miami. But it's done for the Heat, man. It's going to be tough to see what they do, and it'll be a very interesting offseason coming for Miami. We're going to talk about some of the stats that come up in this game, but I'm more or less going to go through each of the players that played for Miami today and say if they deserve to be on the roster next year, because I think more than 95% of the players that play today don't deserve to be, and I'd actually argue that 70% of the guys that play today aren't going to be on the roster next season. But make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're not going anywhere. We're live for 70-plus Heat games this season in the play-in, the playoffs, the regular season, preseason, and we're going to come back better and bigger next year, and we're also not going anywhere in the offseason. We'll have daily videos. We'll have hopeful live shows going out throughout the week. In the summer, in June and July, we'll be live for the NBA draft. We'll have NBA free agency, trade rumors, we'll have it all. Subscribe for more Heat news and rumors. We're also sponsored by Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in North America. Get started with them today and get a first deposit match up to $100 with prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, or just download the app and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Shout out to them for sponsoring today's live show and this video in our post game. I made an entry for the final game of the Heat season. One from the Heat game, one from the night game. I don't know how James Harden ended up panning out, but I did get picked correctly on the more than for Bam Adebayo, 21.5 points. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stat projections, and you could win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct entries in the month of May. It's so simple. It's a couple taps. It's daily fantasy made easy. It's daily fantasy sports made fun. Win big money and withdraw your winnings, which, by the way, it might be so easy to withdraw your money. That's why I love Prize Picks. A lot of stat projections, easy and quick withdrawals. Get started today, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, Caleb Martin probably played his final game as a Miami Heat player. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here. I don't really care about his stats. But Caleb played his last game as a Heat player. And I know a lot of Heat fans like Caleb, and I know a lot of Heat fans were kind of waiting for him to get out. He's a very intriguing player because he can be unbelievable at times, but then he could have some games where he was horrible. And I don't really think that this is one of those times to talk about his stats, but the reason why this was his last game in a Miami Heat uniform, because he has a player option for the next season, and it's worth $7 million. And if we're just going to call a spade here, Caleb Martin in unrestricted free agency could make $13 million on the full mid-level exception next year from a team. Like, if he gets a 3 for $39 million deal next year, it would not shock me one bit, because he's a decent role player, a athletic wing who can defend and do some nice things off the bench, and 3 for $39 for a contending team who has cap space, I think would make a lot of sense. The Heat will not match that. They are already past the first apron of the tax. Are they going to go into the second part of the tax for Caleb Martin? Probably not. So I expect Caleb Martin to be on a different team in the offseason. So thanks for the memories, Caleb. Nikola Jovic, I mean, intriguing game from him. Like, I'm not going to talk about the stats, but the fact that he got benched to start the second half, I mean, you were down 24 or whatever it was, so it didn't really matter. But Spo, the inconsistencies of using him this year was intriguing. He started a lot of games. He didn't play earlier in the season, but was able to find his footing as a starter late. And it'll see what Jovic has in the offseason. I'm still bullish on Jovic's future. I think year 3 of his career could be very, very good for Miami, and him and Bam could form a very good front court. But if the Heat really want to go all in on this Bam and Jimmy duo before Butler really gets up there in age, you might have to trade the kid if you want to upgrade the roster. So it's going to be a long offseason of trade rumors for Nikola Jovic. But you guys know how I feel about him. I love him. But if it ultimately means you have to get rid of him to upgrade the team, I think on the early portion, and maybe I'm overreacting, I'd be willing to do it. Bam Adebayo, he had an unbelievable first half. He had 21 first half points, and he was shooting, I believe, 50+% from the field. He had a horrific third quarter. Not that it mattered. The game was over. Bam is the only player we're going to talk about today that is guaranteed to be on the roster next year. Only one. Only one. And I know that Bam is frustrating at times, but with how good he is defensively, the best defender in the NBA in my opinion, I'll still stick to that. He is. And how consistent he is, and how much juice he brings on a daily basis for the most part, he's your franchise player, man. And if I'm Pat Riley, I'm Eric Spoelstra, when I look to the future of the Miami Heat, this is what I see. I see Bam Adebayo. So whatever you want to do, whatever moves you want to make in the offseason, I get going all in for the Jimmy Butler-led era, but it does not come at the cost of trading this man. So if you are ever in the camp of trading this guy right here, Bam Adebayo, this is not the channel for you. Because I will never push that narrative. I will never speak that ever. Bam Adebayo is your franchise player, and that's why ideally I think the number one guy that I'd want in the offseason is Donovan Mitchell, because he can help you win now with Bam and Jimmy, and he also could be a duo for the next 5 to 7 seasons with Bam Adebayo, as they are around the same age. They are in the same timetable, and they are they're really good friends. So I would like that duo. You're not trading this man. You're keeping him. Delon Wright. I'll tell you what. I tweeted this out. If you haven't followed me already, follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. But if there was one takeaway from this game, it's that this man needs to be on the Heat next year. I think he's one of the only people I can say that for outside of Bam that's on this current roster that played today, because what he brought from a defensive standpoint, he has a great basketball IQ. I think Delon Wright would be a really good returning player for Miami next year. Now, the Heat can't offer him a lot of money. I also don't think Delon would fetch a lot of money. I think you could re-sign Delon Wright in free agency on a vetman deal. I think you need to do that because he's a pest defensively. Do I want him to be a starter next year? Absolutely not. But being a backup point guard and 8th, 9th man off the bench to be a menace defensively on the perimeter, I'm all in. And then another offseason in Miami, maybe he improves his three-point shooting and he can actually be a real asset for the Heat in 2024. I also think Haywood Highsmith played his last game as a Miami Heat basketball player. I like Haywood. He's a good defender, 7-foot wingspan, 6'5". He improved his three-point shooting this season. But he's a restricted free agent this year. And I think a team would be willing to offer him, like for example, for like a Charlotte Hornets or Orlando Magic with a lot of cap space. Whoever has a lot of cap space. Or Philadelphia 76ers. There's 4 players on their roster going into next year. They have a ton of cap space. Why wouldn't you sign Haywood Highsmith to like a 4-year, $18 million deal or 4 for 20 or whatever it is? I don't think the Heat would match that. I don't. And he would probably get more than that, to be honest, on the open market. I just don't think this Heat team is going to go into the cap and into the deep luxury tax, as I mentioned for Caleb Martin. I don't think they would do it for Haywood Highsmith as a restricted free agent. So I think Haywood's played the last game for Miami, which is unfortunate because I do like Haywood, but he is so frustrating to watch on offense at times. Talk about frustrating. Tyler Herro. This is as bad as it gets, man. And Herro was atrocious in the series against the Celtics. He had one game where he probably played the best game of his career, game 2. Not going to lie, it was the best game of his career. 24 points, 14 assists in that game. It was efficient as hell. Got to win on the road, leading and controlling that game. But in games 1, game 3, game 4, and game 5, he was absolutely atrocious. And this is his, 5th, 6th year in the NBA. We've seen who Tyler Herro is. He is someone who can't perform in the postseason, can't perform when the lights are the brightest. He had a good run when he was a rookie, but in his second postseason run and in this postseason run, bad. I think you're going to trade him this offseason. I think you've seen the last of Tyler Herro in a Heat uniform. It's unfortunate because we've had some fun memories with Tyler, some good memories. But if you want to upgrade this team, he's going to be a player in that deal. And the sad part is, too, as well with this, is that his trade value is kind of in the gutter. His trade value has never been lower than it is right now. So I don't know what you're going to get for him. I'd imagine you could still probably get a first-round pick in value, but I don't know if it's much more than just a simple first-round pick. I really don't. So I think Herro's gone. We'll see if he's traded to Cleveland for Donovan Mitchell. We'll see if he's traded just for role players to help build the roster. We'll see. But either way, I think we've seen the last of Tyler Herro in a Heat uniform. So, bye Tyler. Make sure you hit that sub button. Like I said, we are not going anywhere. We are going to have daily videos for the Miami Heat, trade rumors, free agency rumors, draft rumors. We'll have it all. And hopefully we'll have live shows throughout the summer as well. And we'll be back for year 2. Year 2 of the Heat Report will be a blast for watch parties. We're only going to continue to grow here at the channel. So stick with us. Let's go Heat.